All right, 101, holding by Pirke Avos, Ethics for Fathers, as it is known. Again, 101. We are holding by Pirke Avos, Ethics for Fathers, as it is known. We are holding by Chapter Mishna 15. This is part 39. Not sure there'll be a part 40 on this chapter. We'll see if we finish. We may get there, you never know. Again, we are holding by Pirke Avos, Ethics for Fathers, Chapter 2, Mishnah 15. And we spoke last week, speaking the last part of the Mishnah, that the Mishnah says that you should warm yourself by the fire of the sages. Beware, lest you be burnt by its embers. Their bite is bite of a fox, sting is sting of a scorpion, hiss of a serpent, and all their words are like fiery coals. So we spoke about the bite of a fox, right? Bite of a fox, very sharp, because a fox's teeth are crooked, and because they are crooked, then the doctor, in order to heal the person, right, it's going to be more painful. Why? Because they're going to have to cut the flesh with a knife to widen the bite. Again, because a fox, even though it's got very, very sharp teeth, whereas a fox, what happens? The problem is the teeth are crooked. So when they bite, they don't bite straight away, right? They bite at an angle. So when you bite at an angle, in this case, doctors have to cut around the flesh or open up the flesh in order to heal it, which is a lot more painful. And this means, simple explanation, was, again, being careful of the words that are spoken to a rabbi, especially if they have credentials. Again, if they don't have credentials, or they say heretical things, spoken about this quite a bit, then I don't have to worry, right? Because, they're out of the realm of holding by, Torah mitzvahs, because people get caught up on this, and they'll say, oh, but look, you're speaking Lashon Hara. Well, the person's a heretic. Chofetz Chaim says clear, say whatever I want about them. Not only can I say whatever I want about them, I can warn people, right? I can warn people against them because they're heretical. Now, again, would I do it every second of every day? No, right? But when it has to be done, it has to be done. People have to be warned, right? As we mentioned many times, right? Someone who causes someone else to sin is worse than the sin itself, right? Makti es harabim, right? Causing other people to sin is one of the things JC got killed for, right? Besides idolatry and blasphemy and other things. That was one thing, which is pretty severe prohibition, right? And that is causing someone else to sin. So, again, in this case, unless the person, says heretical things, that's to be respect, right? There has to be respect. You're not just talking to, your everyday chap, as we would say, or maybe as the English might say. Because the person should be respected. They said they learned Torah. They've learned a lot of Torah, right? If they've done things not to be respected, okay, right? So that's a different issue, right? That we've spoken about, a number of times. Nonetheless, I would say, you still have to be careful. It's not, a lot of times people think that, they can say whatever they want. And again, it has to be respect, so to speak. You don't call out people, you don't call them names, other things. I mean, they deserve respect, or as we mentioned. But again, you got to be careful, right? Because even if it's said in a respectful way, right, their words can penetrate. Their words are fire, so to speak. So you got to be careful, right? That was one explanation. Another explanation is that by a fox, you may think Okay. Trying to appease it. Trying to appease it so it won't bite. Right? But this isn't the case because fox is not easily appeased over here. So when the bite comes, painful. Right? It's going to take longer to heal than other animals. So again, if a person, let's say, comes to Yom Kippur, what's our obligation? Our obligation, first of all, we have to repent, right? We got an obligation to repent. And therefore, since we have an obligation to repent, if it's between man and God, so then you have to go through the proper channels for repentance. If it's between man and man, there's an obligation to appease them. Right? Appeasing them means, you have to obviously feel bad for what you've done, and you have to try and appease them that they should forgive you. Now, we mentioned this many times, that, when it comes to appeasing somebody, we should accept their forgiveness. Person doesn't forgive them is cruel, right? It's considered cruel. Now, person will say it depends what they've done, how much damage they caused you, different things, very good. Right? Sometimes it's hard to forgive someone. Okay. Let's say somebody wronged a rabbi. He's got credentials. They wronged him. Now, somebody like that deserves more respect. It's because of who they are, what they represent. Right? They deserve more respect. So if that's true, if that is true, then you gotta be a lot more careful. Their bite is much more powerful. Right? So if you have to appease somebody in general, very good, you gotta appease them. Right? They don't accept your forgiveness, go a second time. They don't accept your forgiveness a second time. Bring a whole entourage of people, right? Bring a whole bunch of people together. They don't accept you the third time, they get the transgression. Okay. Now, what if the person wronged did not deserve to be wronged in this case? All right, we'll make it easy. That person's a rabbi, yeah? So what if, they got really ticked off, they really told you off, whatever. You come back a second time. They don't accept it. Come back a third time. Right? You come back 1,000 times till they accept forgiveness. Other people, you don't have to do that to. Other people, after the third time, that's it. If they don't accept forgiveness, they don't give forgiveness, then they get the transgression. They will get the transgression. Why is the rabbi different? It's different. Learns more, knows more. You gotta say, but look at the terrible thing. Yeah. They were careless. Said something, whatever. They should come back 1,000 times and ask for forgiveness. Not like you just, this is a problem also. Problem on both sides. It's a problem that, sometimes rabbis want to relate to other people, draw them closer, maybe do similar things that they do, right? In order to draw them closer, whatever, right? So they look at them, not like it's a mentor or whatever, like one of them. So that is a problem. Problem on both sides. Person wants to relate to other people, wants to draw them close, I get it. But who says, and this is, is a much bigger question, who says you have to go into the dirt to draw someone close? Right? Who says? Big issue with this. There are places they won't find any problem going to a ball game, let's say on a Sunday. Synagogue events, let's say. Again, I understand why people do it. I understand what's behind it. They go to a concert, let's say. Does that mean you're like everybody else? Question is, should you be there? Okay, it's a different issue. Different issue. But how are you looking at this person who's having influence on your life? How are they being looked at like you're the same? Like you're equal? Or not? They're going to say just because they have the more knowledge. It's not just knowledge. It's life experience. Doesn't mean they're infallible. Doesn't mean they don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean they're experts in, many other things either. Well, that's what I mean that. But it has to be a distance. It has to be shown that respect. So then the question is, okay, what if they do something egregious? What if they do something wrong? People aren't perfect by any stretch. But then the person will say, well, that's total respect. What's their rabbinic ordination worth? Okay. Right? It's been tainted now. Okay. That's a different issue. People say that, certain big rabbis would say it's cult. Idolatry. People worship them. And what do they worship? Literally, the knowledge they have, not the person. Right? If they worship the person, it's idolatry. Then according to everybody's idolatry. Yeah. So then you got to be careful. Now, what happens? What commonly happens? Let's say, and again, this is a bigger subject here. Let's say, rabbi of a synagogue. He gives a sermon on Shabbos. Now, my rabbi would say, if you're a rabbi of a synagogue, they're not trying to drive you out. You're not doing your job right. Why? Because the whole purpose of what you do there, besides giving, trying to uplift people, right? Trying to help them, be greater people spiritually. Yeah. They have to say what people don't necessarily want to hear. In other words, they should speak about things that people need to hear. Not that what people want necessarily to hear. Musar. Anyone like to get musar? I don't think people like to get musar necessarily. Sometimes you have to get musar. Sometimes you have to be strong. But what inevitably happens? What inevitably happens? What inevitably happens is that they'll critique it. He said it like this, said it like that. He could have mentioned this. They critique it. Now, critiquing it, very often, almost 100% of the time, will be Lashon Hara. Not only will it be Lashon Hara, it can cause serious damage as well. Now, they can ask questions about what he said. Delve into deeper what they said. Okay. When you start to critique it, when they start to critique it thinking they know better, or they understand better, that becomes a problem. This happens a lot. Some people think, well, he's got knowledge in this, but I have knowledge in that. So, not that they're equal. right? Nobody should look at their rabbi as an equal. Not even close. Mishna Pirke Avos says, we spoke before, it says, K'nei lecha rav. It says, acquire for yourself a rabbi. Now, acquire yourself a rabbi does not necessarily mean someone who's got unbelievable knowledge. Could be someone who maybe has similar knowledge to you, but you look to them for guidance. Yeah. So, what does the Mishnah say? I'll get flack for saying this, but what does the Mishnah say? Literally, acquire. What does acquire mean? What does acquire mean? Money. Should pay. Should pay for the wisdom. Doesn't mean people are perfect, but you should pay for the wisdom. Because everybody needs guidance. How much you pay, when, this, that, it's open for discussion. But people say, you should do it for free. For that many times. You should do it for free. You wouldn't ask that about anybody else. Friend of mine's a computer consultant. He walked in your door. You couldn't figure out how to turn on the computer. He's charging you $100. I should have mercy. You're not gonna question it. As I want to fix my washing machine. Had one problem, fixed it, okay. Had another problem. So, what did Jews do? They bargain. Right? They bargain. So I said, well, give me a discount on this. He goes, well, it's the same part. Okay. Yeah. Right, but the question is going to be, we'll see one day, I don't know, about 97. Now, the Mishna Pirke Avos talks about the fact that, Moshe Rabbeinu, that's what someone's going to say. Moshe Rabbeinu taught for free in the desert. Very good. God made him rich through tablets. God took care of him. But today, even a rabbi of synagogue, he's got other jobs because they're not paying him enough. In most cases, especially former conservative rabbi, then you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Speak about Dennis the Menace on Friday night. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. Orthodox rabbis not making a lot of money. Bottom line. Right? Bottom line. So they're multiple jobs. Or try and make ends meet. Okay. Now, some people, again, I'm not going to say everybody, some people think they're online with the rabbi. Now, if you tell me they have, they have the knowledge, and everything else, I have no issue. If they're on the same level. If they're on the same level, they have to have respect. But most people are not on the same level. Right? It's tremendous disrespect. Tremendous disrespect. Regardless of what the message you're giving over. If a person, again, is speaking within the parameters of Torah, right? Meaning within Orthodox parameters, they deserve respect. People sitting and learning, even if they don't have quote unquote a title. Didn't we say it first Mishna Pirke Avos? What are three things that uphold the world? Torah, Avodah, Gemilas Chasadim. Right? Avodah can either be temple service or prayer. Gemilas Chesed is talking about acts of loving kindness, helping others. And Torah. Don't we agree? People weren't sitting and learning. World goes back, Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. Back to that original chaos. Back of that Led Zeppelin album. Anyone know what I'm talking about? That'd be bad. Nobody would be here. We need people sitting and learning. Because, look at all the people sitting and learning. Let's say, over the age of 25, it's a joke, but let's say, over the age of 25, you have 50,000 people sitting and learning Torah full-time. Full-time, meaning they're not working. Full-time. It's a very high number. Way too high number. But okay, let's say. Be a little bit generous now. Let's say, how many Jews are in the world? 14.5 million? 15 million? Do the math. Divide 50,000 by 14 million. What do you get? A quarter of 1%, if that? If that? People say, oh, look how many people sitting learning. No, you got to boast to the numbers. But even people sitting learning. There should be respect. Because they don't have a job, quote unquote. But they're sitting learning, upholding the world. People call them cockroaches, parasites. They rely on help from others. But they're upholding the world. Imagine, someone, gets a stipend every month. They get housing. Why? Because they're doing something unbelievably beneficial for the world. Why are they getting their needs taken care of? Because they're writing a book on tax law. You're going to say, well, we need a book on tax law. Or other things. Nobody looks at that person, oh, look, he's getting a handout. Oh, look, he's going to rely on, the government for this or whatever. Let him get a real job. No! He's writing a book on tax law. These other people just, like learning these old texts, a couple thousand years old. That doesn't mean anything. They're not doing anything for the world except upholding the world. Yeah. It deserves to be respected. No question. Now, does that mean any of these people are perfect? No. We're human. Everybody's human. There has to be respect. Someone once said, well, you have not your knowledge, this person has their knowledge. Okay. But that knowledge has to be respected if it deserves to be respected. There are people going to have that knowledge be disgusting people. It's a different issue. And finding someone to learn under is also hard. Gemara Hagiga says, your rabbi has to look to you like an angel. They have to be like an angel. Again, does that mean people are perfect? No. But they want to idolize that person. Idolize them for the knowledge that they have. So people are very quick. People are very quick to say, "Oh, but said this," and that idea doesn't resonate, or I don't like that idea, or whatever. So put them on, X list. There are 70 faces to Torah. A lot of different ways to look at Torah in the right way. I've been contacted by people that are, they're into breast love. Okay. Get this question a lot. I do is both of them. Meaning, I want to go pray in the forest. Or I'm going to go pray somewhere. Not with a minion. Not with 10 men. Not at fixed times. What I want. But I want to have this certain time. I don't know, meditate, whatever. You can do that. Within reason. But you still got to pray 3 times a day with a minion. What about spontaneous prayer? Doesn't God want spontaneous prayers? Always wants prayer. He always wants prayer. Okay. But there's certain parameters. You can't just do what you want. Right? I can't just go in the forest, for days on end. But it's going to draw me so close to God. Yeah? The parameters the rabbis gave us. Now, I'm all for person wants to go meditate. Person wants to go out to nature, see God's creation. I have no issue with that. I have no issue with spontaneous prayer. But it has to be done within certain parameters. It does not come at the extent of prayer in general. But someone says, but sometimes I feel I need to pray, and whatever. You can do that. That's not a problem. It doesn't overtake the normal obligation for prayer. It doesn't. So again, there are different ways of service to God. But even if there are different ways, you got to stay on the path. You can't veer off from the path. Once you veer off from the path, what happens? It's God made in my own image. That is a problem. Because you got to do what you need to do the right way. And as Kaufman would say, if you don't do it the right way, don't bother. Right? You got to do it the right way. It's not a joke. Right? And people think, I'm just going to tell you from experience, people think they're going to reinvent the wheel. And they know better. And they know a lot better. Okay. What is that going to get them? What is that going to get them? Disaster. They'll separate themselves from the community. They'll think, oh, they need to be with 10 men. I'm going to do it this way. I'll pray when I want, blah, blah, blah. They'll do what they want. Once a person starts to do what they want, or they continue to do what they want, they'll disappear. That's just the reality. Because then there's no authority. You're not held accountable. I'll do what it says in my heart. Okay. That's what my heart tells me. Was that true? That could be what that could be what your heart of heart tells you, but it could be totally false. Case in point. Make it very graphic into marriage. Isn't it a marriage forbidden? Jew and a non-Jew? Yes. Non-Jew converts? Okay. Well, let's say they don't. Not interested in conversion. Not a problem for the non-Jew? No. Problem for the Jew? Okay. Now, even if you tell me that, what do I have over here? Okay, nothing wrong. What did I do wrong? What you did wrong is you'll disappear from the Jewish people. Exactly what the Torah says. Well, people think they know better. People think they know better. They're going to outsmart. They're going to outsmart God over here. Yeah. They're going to beat the system. Now, I would say we've messed up the system in different ways. But I would also say there is what to be said, being inside the box. Because if you're outside the box, you don't fit in. And if you want to be part of this process, you got to fit in somewhere. Some community, held by some rabbis, whoever it is. You got to fit in somewhere. You're not going to be doing your own thing, right? I'll give an example. I had somebody wanted to do certain things that nobody else does. Nobody else does. But they said, even according to this opinion, I can do it, whatever. Yeah, it's like grasping at straws. Yeah. So I told them, okay. They said, yeah, but don't you agree? Some rabbis would agree, you could do the blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So even if I would be so generous and agree, I told them point blank, I said, you have kids to marry off. Soon you're going to have to marry off kids. Right? This is a Jew. So, Jew grew up in the middle of nowhere, learned on their own. Right? So, also a problem, but okay. So I told this person point blank, if you do this, which most people don't do, if you do this and people find out and you don't hide it very well, and people find out, I said, I promise you, without a vow, nether, I said, I promise you, you'll never marry off your kids. Now, why did I say that? Because once a person starts looking into that family and they see that this is what the person does, they're going to think they're a wacko. And why should I have my child marry into that family? One of the parents is a wacko. But I said, still trying to bring me proof for this and proof for that. So finally I told them, do you want to marry for your kids? Yes or no? You want to be part of a Jewish community? Fine. You want to do things that no one else does? It's very dodgy, as English would say. You will not marry off your kids. You won't marry them off. They'll think there's something weird about you. Even if I would agree you could do it, doesn't matter. They're going to think it's weird. And then they think it's weird, and they look into the family, they'll never marry into it. Never. I think someone very special, so there, okay, whatever. Yeah, going to say, can't God do anything? Sure. God can do anything at every time. Yeshua Hashem Kerifai. Right? Salvation of God comes with the blink of an eyelash. Very good. But if you stick 2 feet in your mouth and do other things, going to make it really, really hard, God can still help you. I'm not saying not. He can still help you. But you're making life much, much harder than you need to. Much, much harder. You can't just do what you want. Again, there are people who think they know better. They think they know better. You get some, people want to be Karaites. They say, I'm going to do what God tells me. Okay, good luck. Even if there are 50,000 Karaites in the world. Okay, so what? What have they done? What have they done the last 20 years, last 50 years? You don't hear too much about them. So in my eyes, I would say they're like wiped off the face of the map. It's like they don't exist. Yeah. But I want to be like this. I don't want to look around. I don't this. Okay. What's going to happen? You're going to associate with something that's a fossil. Anyone want to be part of a fossil? Right? Anyone want to be part of a fossil? I don't think so. And if a person does, good luck. You'll disappear. People want to reinvent the wheel. So I'll tell you. From vast experience, you do what you need to do. You want to fit in, you find a community to fit into. Not an easy thing, but you find a community to fit into. That's what you have to do. That's how the Jewish people survived throughout the millennium. And even someone's not going to convert, but you're in striking distance of an Orthodox community. Okay. But you have to fit in. If you try and do anything on your own, you're in trouble. That's why you need guidance. Well, everybody needs guidance. There are people who think they know better. Okay. Now I've seen more times than not, people get themselves into trouble. They waste a lot of time. Certainly a lot of time, and they get nowhere. But sometimes you're going to say, well, doesn't the people have to, fall flat in their face till they see what the truth is? Yep. Sometimes the only way they learn is by getting knocked around. So again, someone has real credentials. You got to be careful. So someone asks a lot of questions here. Deal with them now. Somebody asks how we cultivate the mindset, transform discomfort of receiving criticism. Yeah, I don't know too many people who love getting criticized about anything. Yeah. The Torah says we got an obligation, right? Leviticus chapter 19. We got an obligation to rebuke our fellow man. Right? For a Jew, doesn't apply to a non-Jew. Right? But got an obligation to rebuke and go to love hate. but you don't want to bear the sin. In other words, you rebuke someone, even if we don't know how to rebuke today, but let's say you rebuke someone, you can't embarrass them. So we're not allowed to embarrass them when you rebuke them. So yeah, it's kind of a fine line here. But I would say most people navigating this process does not know what to do left or right, which way to go. This comes to deal with family, dealing with friends, how to fit into a community, a lot of things. A lot of things. Unfortunately, they bring upon themselves. I said this to a number of people, you'd have a lot more success. A lot more success by getting the heck out of Dodge. You can't live on your own island. Impossible. Not only that, you don't know what you're doing. So living on your own, in your own island, not around Jews, not knowing what to do, will destroy your whole family. Or whoever's around you. Whoever you're with. Now, why did I say that? First of all, I definitely think it's true. But second of all, people don't think about the repercussions. If you're not part of a community, or your goal isn't to move to a community, get stuck. 100%, you get stuck. There's nothing around you. Nothing around you. You don't have that much knowledge. Keeping the holidays, this and that, you don't know what you're doing. So by not knowing what you're doing, it's a hodgepodge. Huge hodgepodge. And then some people say, but I don't understand. I've been trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. You're trying to do things on your own without knowledge. And when you do it without knowledge, what happens? Make mistakes. A lot of mistakes. How much to do, when to do, how to do. Okay. Sometimes, okay. Person doesn't live in Jewish community, so it's going to be hodgepodge for a while. But you have to get the knowledge. But that has a huge effect. I know some, I don't know what they're doing now, but they jumped around from so many different things. Finally, family just got fed up with it. They're either commit to something, be consistent with it, or, whatever, they get tired of it. But even someone is consistent, make it easy. Even if they're consistent. But they still don't know what they're doing. And they're not around Jews. It's going to cause an effect. A negative effect. Because you're in the middle of nowhere. And you don't know what you're doing. Or how to do it, or whatever. So, I will tell you, it's not easy to hear the truth. In general. Many times I ask questions, bam, right here. They're right in that. Right in that. You really want me to do that? So that's what you got to do. Very unpopular. Right? Made certain decisions. I wasn't whistling Dixie here. People thought, oh, that's extreme, that's this, that's that. I listened to what he said. Wasn't easy. Heard more of certain things. Also wasn't easy to hear. Yeah, but you have to remember, if someone's giving rebuke, they're not giving rebuke just to hammer someone. It's not an ego trip. Oh, I know more than you, so I'm going to put you down in this. It's not an ego trip. Trying to help you. Definitely trying to help. Trying to show a person going in the wrong direction or what they need to do. Sometimes it's easier to hear. Sometimes it's harder to hear. But if you want to go in the right direction, sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it might be painful things you have to hear. Right? But someone, even if they have to give rebuke, you have to see where it's coming from. And, if someone's giving a rebuke because they're on a power trip, yeah, it's a problem. Or I've heard cases. I've heard cases where people will say things, let's say to a non-Jew on Shabbos, and say, turn on the light for me on Shabbos. Yeah, let's say they're already at the point they're not doing that. But someone wants to show that, yeah, you're still a non-Jew, you still can do that, or whatever. I don't know, show a person's perseverance, if they're really going to listen. I don't know exactly. I've heard of such a case. That's what you tell someone to do on Shabbos, put them in their place. Don't mix up Jews and Judaism. We're our own worst enemy. I'm not going to justify why somebody would do that. Not even really trying to answer why they would do it. It's wrong at a certain point. Just to say, well, I wanted to make sure they knew who they were, this, that. They know who they are. They know exactly who they are. And if someone is Oriental or someone's black or someone's Hispanic, you have to remind them. You have to remind them of their skin color. I don't think they're blind. They look in the mirror every day. They see who they are. So you're just going to remind them? That's, maybe it's kind of a power trip, putting them in their place. I don't know. I don't have a good answer here to justify. I'm not necessarily going to try and justify. But most people know who they are. They know exactly who they are. I've spoken to a number of people of color. They're like, I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I've been this way my whole life. Okay. Yeah. Nobody likes to be critiqued. Remember one thing. Where is this critique coming from? Is it coming just to knock you down? Or is it coming because they want to try and help? And they feel this is the best way to try and help. Even so, a person has to keep in their mind, they're looking out for my best interest. If they're looking out for your best interest, they want you to grow spiritually, not make mistakes and this and that. Sometimes it comes out as harsh. Yeah, it could be. But where is it coming from? What's the source? Source is coming out of love, not out of hate. Not an ego trip over here. I heard a rabbi once, or I'm not really going to call him rabbi, but I didn't hear the person say it, but somebody was there, told the story. So, whatever, conservative rabbi, reconstructionist rabbi, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Talk about ego. Yeah, person at a funeral. And see this rabbi there, and I guess this person had a rabbinical book, for funerals or whatever. So he said, this rabbi, like, nothing mean, whatsoever. He says, oh, rabbi, see, you don't have your book. Here, if you want, you can borrow mine. I happen to bring it, whatever, you can borrow mine. That's what the person said. The rabbi looked at him. Whatever, she didn't call him rabbi, whatever. The person looked at him. And the person's already, much older. And he's like, young man, I don't need your book. Right? He was offering a book so he could help him if he needed it. Yeah. He says, young man, I don't need your book. So you think I need your book? I write books. I write books. This moron said. What did I tell you? I need you. Person was trying to help him. It wasn't an ego thing. This piece of crud comes out and says, I write books. Ego. Or ego, as we would say here in Israel. I write books. You an idiot? Embarrass someone in public? Probably not the worst thing the person ever did. Yeah. This wasn't a critique. This was not a critique. This was someone trying to help. So again, how many people are signing up to be rebuked? And some people like rebuke. Some people like to feel like a piece of dirt. Okay? They like to know they got a lot to work on. Okay? They want to hear a very strong Muslim. Okay? I don't have a problem with that. Some people, it's hard for them to hear. But even if someone, let's say, not in a general class, someone goes to the rabbi, whatever, gives them advice, and it's very hard, and despite it's strong. Now again, ask yourself the question, why am I getting this advice? Some people take it to heart. Maybe not ready for it, whatever. Loving rebuke is hard. I don't know too many people like ecstatic to hear rebuke. Even they deserve it. Yeah. The thing you have to realize is, first, ask the rabbi a question. What they say sometimes it may be strong, but why are they telling you this? Sometimes it's because they hate you. Why are they telling you? Because they want to help you. They want you to be able to see certain things, even if it's hard. Yeah. So that's one thing. The second part of the question is, how can we know the difference between constructive criticism versus harmful judgment? So that is a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing. Because a lot of times, even if someone has to give rebuke, they shouldn't look at it as being destructive. And the person's really trying to help. So a lot of times it will be constructive. Now, there's a very fine line here. Why is there a fine line? Why is there a fine line? Because even if they're trying to get help, it can be harmful. I told a story a few weeks back. I read an article, somebody that, whatever, was a therapist, and, they're making progress with somebody, and in the middle of a therapy session, the person got an emergency phone call, had to leave in the middle. And the mother was dying. She didn't tell this patient this story, but whatever. Her mother was dying, thought she was going to die right there, so she had to leave the appointment. Okay? She didn't tell her what the story was, but anyway, the patient found out shortly thereafter that, this person's mother died. Okay? But this person really needed to speak to this therapist. So, so sometime later, they asked, to meet with them, and basically the therapist was still process of grieving. And so, I can refer you to someone, but, I can't do anything for like the next number of months. Now, like having any other appointments, whatever, they're going through a hard time. Okay. Now, this patient went ballistic. Totally ballistic. Totally dependent on the therapist. Now, again, this is also much bigger topic. Now, in this case, what did the patient see? Therapist caused them pain. They totally relied on them. Okay. But don't they understand, like, this person is grieving? And they can't give to their patients 100% what they need to give, so they're not going to do it until they feel comfortable doing it. So the patient says, how can you leave me in the lurch? You left me with nobody. They offer to try, refer, whatever. There can be unhealthy relationships, right? There can be cases where what happens can be harmful. Now, sometimes I think things are more obvious, or should be more obvious, right? I heard some stories, again, I'm not an expert in this by any stretch, but, I've heard stories where therapists become almost like a cult, almost, ruins people's relationships, family, spouse, because they have to be all in and whatever. That causes damage, tremendous damage. So yeah, a person has to be careful. A person has to be careful. But I'll tell you like this. Usually, if a person goes to what we call das Torah, they go to, rabbi for advice, whatever it is, ask questions, philosophical questions, halachic questions, whatever it may be. They're not led, usually. Usually the case is they get the advice they need, everything's good, and that's it. Now, there are times that it can cause problems, cause family problems, let's say. But guess what? If that's what they said to do, and that's what you got, that's what you have to do. So people aren't going to like it. Some people may not like it. Okay. But at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do. You don't lose. Even if it looks like you lose, you don't lose. But again, it'll depend who you go to. It'll depend on, the circumstances, right, etc. So yeah, I would say in some cases you got to be careful, right? Depending on who the person is. But sometimes the advice they give, and then let's say it backfires. Even better, let's say it backfires. You get a lot of flack for it, for what the person said, told them to do. But what they told you to do was in accordance with Torah, was in total accordance with Torah philosophy. But it was hard. The repercussions were what they were. People said, "Oh, he's putting up the family, you're causing problems. Why are you listening to this person? They're brainwashing you, it's cultish." They said what you should do according to what the Torah says. Does that mean every single time you listen? And they told you the right thing to do was easy to do? Doesn't mean it was easy. Doesn't mean that at all. There are repercussions, for sure. Right? There are repercussions. Total repercussions. That doesn't mean they gave you bad advice. All it means is that you had to go through a hard time. You had to stand up to something that you didn't necessarily want to do. Right? I hear this all the time. People get, I don't want to start the conversation. It's going to cause problems. It's going to make people feel uncomfortable. Sometimes you have no choice. Sometimes you have no choice. And sometimes the repercussions are what they are. I knew somebody that this woman and her husband very close to my rabbi, and her father didn't like him for different things he said. So he tells his daughter, I'm willing to give you all this money, a ton of money to give you. I give it to you on one condition. What do you think the one condition is? I give you on one condition, you don't listen to this Rabbi Sternbuch. That's the condition I give it. What are you going to do? Take the money, never have a connection again, or you're still going to listen to who he is, to what he says? Happened. I know the case personally. So, people make critiques. People make critiques. Oh, this person should have done this, or they should have done that, or they should have done the other thing. I can tell you in many cases, I didn't come out smelling like a rose. By some secular people. Okay. What are you going to do? Is, bottom line, is the Torah true or it's not true? If it's true, aren't there repercussions? Yes. Does that mean every time you listen, everything's going to come out, everything's going to be smooth? Doesn't mean that. Now, does that mean they're giving you the wrong advice? No. Sometimes there's situations, what can you do? Person intermarries, marries a non-Jew. Can an Orthodox Jew go to the wedding? No. Can you go to the ceremony? No. Somebody say, come on, can't you find a leniency? No. Forbidden. There's nothing to do. But it's going to cause problems. Okay? Can't turn the Torah into a pretzel. Right? Yeah. Told the story before. And someone I went to yeshiva with, I saw him on a plane coming back from the States. I asked him, oh, what are you doing there? So he said, oh, my sister got married. So I said, oh, Mazel. Well, not exactly. She married a goy. She married a non-Jew. So I said, well, how'd you go to the wedding? He said, how are you allowed to go to the wedding? He says, don't worry. Everybody knew I was there on the protest. I said, really? Did you have the kosher food on the protest? You're doing the whole and dancing on the protest? What protest? Now, I can understand. Probably a person was under a lot of pressure. Tremendous amount of pressure. Tremendous amount of pressure. Okay. But how can you go to that wedding? As a Jew. As an Orthodox Jew. How can you go to the wedding? Can't. People are going to be upset. People are going to call you names. People are going to say, yes. It's what my heart tells me. Okay, someone intermarried, but I would never break up a family because of it. And I believe intermarriage is wrong. Okay. You believe intermarriage is wrong. But I would never lose my granddaughter, grandson, this, that, whatever. You just admitted it's wrong. But I have a connection, but okay. Not everyone would agree with that assessment. Others may say, try and be macabre of them, try and draw them close, this and that. Yeah. Depending on how to do it, when to do it, whatever. Essentially, you're not having that much of a connection with them. Especially if they have kids and your kids or whatever. You're going to be unpopular. Okay. So what do you do? What is there to do? Let's say even better. Let's say great rabbis of the generation told you that. Right? Not just ordinary rabbis, talking Torah giants. And they say, listen, your kids, their kids, they can't have anything to do with each other. Can't. So let's say you get a number of Torah giants of the generation that agree to this. And they tell you this. The other side says you're a fanatic and you're going to this and blah, 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 blah. Who do you listen to? No, they don't want to be made fun of? No. They don't want to be belittled? No. Yeah? Nobody likes. Nobody likes. Now, you'll be unpopular. You'll be called names. Other things. Okay. So what should you do? There's nothing to do. Sometimes there's nothing to do. You get hit over the head. You move on. Painful. Well, you stuck up from the Torah. What would you rather do? Be hated in God's eyes in this world? Or suck up to other people? Yeah. Suck up to other people, hate in God's eyes, that's bad. But they don't suck up to other people, so you stuck up for God. Very good. People say all kinds of things, it doesn't matter. Torah is Torah. Doesn't change. Right? So again, in this case, you have to see. If something, doesn't feel right or sound right, ask. Person should ask. First, some people give advice and, cause damage. Cause serious damage. Wasn't just, constructive criticism, it caused damage. That did not have to be. So as we always say, you got to be careful who you listen to. Because if you don't, you get burnt. You could get burnt in major ways. There's no question. Somebody asked, okay, dealt with that. Let's see. Someone asked, some people say there's only Kohanim and Levites in the Torah. No such thing, someone called the rabbi. However, it's a question of the Talmud student of the rabbis. Okay. Yeah, so I'll tell you, the Torah says that you got to listen to the Kohen and the Levite in every generation. That's what the Torah says. Now, I would ask a very simple question. The very simple question is, who are the Kohanim and Levites today? So there are Kohanim. In Israel, they praise the congregation every day, right? They bless the congregation every day. They're called up to the Torah first. Right? They can't go to funerals. There are a few other limitations. Okay, we don't have a temple today, so there's not many things for them to do, practically speaking. Yeah, but who are the Kohanim and the Levites today? Even if they don't come from the tribe of Levi. What did the Kohanim do back in the day? Gave all the sacrifices. They taught the people. They taught the masses Torah. So who are teaching Torah today to the masses? Aren't they the rabbis? Yeah. They are the rabbis. Right? People say, oh, it's only Kohanim and Levites. Well, who are they today? It's very easy. I'm going to listen to what the Torah says. Okay. How are you going to know what to do? Even the Karaites have to have their own quote-unquote rabbis. They wear tefillin. How can they wear tefillin? How do they know what totafot are? It says, put totafot beinei nechum. Totafot, Rashi says, not even a Hebrew word. It's not even a Hebrew word. So how would they know what it is? How would they know what these frontlets are between your eyes? We're going to say they have their own rabbis, is that? Yeah. But we understand to be tefillin, very good. How you can understand to do anything if you don't have rabbis to tell us what to do? Right? But people get caught up and I'm only going to listen to the Torah. How do you know what the Torah means? Right? Torah says you're not allowed to kill. Okay. So what about euthanasia? No, that's not murder. Right? That's mercy. But for a Jew or non-Jew, that's murder. Well, the Sukkot, how would I know what to do? How would I know what a sukkah is? How would I know what a lulav is? How many do I take? What does it mean to bring it in front of God? A lot of questions. What does the sukkah look like? Have a roof? How many walls? Torah doesn't tell me. So I'm only going to listen to God. How do you know? How do you know where it comes from? Right? How do you know? Right? That's the question. So I imagine it's like some of the Levites, something, okay. But again, what are the Kohanim and the Levites today? Who are they? They are people that taught Torah. That's what they were. But again, if a person says, I don't want to listen to rabbis, where else are you going to go to get your information from? And even if you give me proof and this and that, let me ask the $1 million question. If you're only going to listen to God, right? Person's going to go back to being, is going to be Karaite. Let's say, I don't have to listen to rabbis. Okay. What is going to happen to you? Where are you going to end up? You're going to end up being a fossil. So even if we'd have this discussion, you don't have to listen to rabbis, you have to listen to God, right? And what it means to listen to God and all these different laws and how we're going to do them and this and that. Very good. Is that, first of all, is that going to bring you closer to God? A. B, is that something you're going to be able to pass down to generations? And that's really what matters. Can you pass it down or not? So we have like a 95% track record that we can. Yeah, people say there's statistics rising, people going off and this and that. Okay. But we have, compared to any other group, so to speak, Reform, Conservative, Reconstructionist, modern, whatever you want to call them, right? They're all disappearing. They're all essentially disappearing. So even if I would agree, you can pick and choose, which I don't. Even if I would agree, you don't have to listen to the rabbis, you only listen to God, which I don't. Yeah. What is the end result? What is the end result? The end result is you will be a fossil and disappear. Right? So here someone mentions, and I agree, a lot of people out there have been swindled, right? Listen to the wrong people, so it's so it's a trust issue. Okay, then I understand. People coming out of the church, it makes sense. People have been lied to. Listen, the fake rabbis out there also been, cause problems. Also cause problems. It's true, right? So you have to be cautious. You have to be cautious. I don't think there's any question. But again, someone we're talking about someone has proper credentials, know what they're doing. You don't lose out, even if what they tell you to do is unpopular, and it causes friction among family. Okay, but you're going to them for their expertise. You're going to them for what they, for the Torah that they know. Not just making it up on their own. Now, what they could tell you may be very strong. It may be very hard to do. 100%. But you never lose. You never lose. Even if it looks bad. Even if it's hard. Somebody asks, how can we make sure our feedback to others is compassionate, constructive? Yeah. At the end of the day, you got to think before you speak. More people would be much better off, if they really thought before they open their mouth. Right? So, think about what you're going to say to someone first. Think of what the possible repercussions could be. And sometimes, depending on who you're speaking to, it doesn't really matter. Because you have to say what you need to say. Sometimes you need to stick up for Torah, they get offended, they get offended. You can't say it any other way. I told someone a while ago, if I believe in God, God says you're not allowed to intermarry. God says you can't eat pig. God says you can't do these other things. So you don't have a problem with me, you have a problem with what God says. Right? And I'm going to listen to what he says and what the rabbis tell me to do. Okay, so you're going to say, I have a problem with the rabbi saying. Okay. Did you ever think about it? Did you ever look into it? No. Right? Is there anything you would say in a situation that's going to help you? It's going to get the person to see the other side. Oh, why not? They're too biased. I don't know what you have to say. So yeah, isn't it true? We should be more careful what we say? Yes. We should be careful. I'm not saying to be blunt just to be blunt. But sometimes you have no choice. Someone say, I can't believe, I think, Judaism discriminates against, non-Jews and women, and, they got this whole agenda. Okay. You understand where they're coming from. They try and explain it this way, try and explain it that way. They don't like any explanation. So what do? Nothing to do. They have an issue with the way, God runs the world. They have an issue with the Torah. They have an issue with, okay. Sometimes there's not much to do. Right? No matter what you say, you can say it in the nicest way. Not saying you have to be blunt. You can say it in the nicest way and still a person gets offended. It's not your fault. Right? You got to remember one thing. You do what you can do. You don't worry what happens later. If you did everything in your power, and then it comes back to bite you, again, so then you have to analyze what you did or whatever. Let's say you don't find any problem. Let's say, for argument's sake, you didn't do anything wrong. And it comes back to bite you. Who says that's your fault? Person feel guilty. Maybe I could have done this. Maybe I could have done that. There's no way, let's say, there's no way around it. You did whatever you could do. This is the work of Moraine or Rabbein or the Yetzer Hara. This is evil inclination. See? You really spoke too strong. See? You really don't know what you're doing. See? Make you feel like a piece of dirt. You did what you could do. You absolutely did what you could do. You can't do anymore. What are you supposed to do? We live in a cream puff generation. I get it. Makes sense. We don't want to hear anything they do is wrong or whatever. Okay. Right? So here somebody says, people are saying you're really going crazy, right? Your studies are making you go overboard. So you feel like you need to ignore them, right? So what you could ask them, it's probably a waste of time, but you could ask them, okay, what should I be doing? What should I be doing? Singing and dancing more? What should I be doing? Should be doing what they do. Be going out with them, hanging out with them, doing other things, very good, but it's not going to be good for your soul. So you can't. So you have to ignore them. Right? They're not going to be interested whatsoever in trying to understand what you're doing. Right? I want to tell something to people that it's going to be very hard to hear. Right? Right? It's going to be very hard to hear. And that is that when it comes to family and friends, and I hate this statement, expect nothing, whatever you get is a bonus. They want you to go back and be like them. You've changed, you've seen the light, whatever. They want you to be like them. At the end of the day, that's the last thing I'll do. Because you're going a different path. Now, when you go on a different path, people get left behind. So if you got people saying, you're studying too much, you don't get out enough, you got to chill, sit back and sip pina coladas, go out with us, watch this movie, do the, and these are things that go against your grain, things you're fighting hard against. So what's going to happen? You're going to find a new set of friends. Right? So a person says, I feel very alone in this journey. It's a lonely journey. 100% it is. Person moves into a Jewish community, it's a little bit different. Should be different. People think like you, want to act like you, or you want to act like them, and fit it in or whatever. Okay. But yeah, you're right. It can very well be a very lonely journey. Can be. 100%. So you can't give in to pressure. There can be a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. Oh, you're going to stay home and, watch some videos and, and learn, and we're going to go out and have a good time. Come on, get real, get a life, get out more. You got to put your head in the books. Women are second class citizens anyway. Why do you have to worry? Right? Sure, these are things people say. What do they really want? They want you to be like them. That's what they want. They're talking about going according to their religion and this and that. Maybe it's not that. They just want you to be normal. But you understand they're going in the wrong direction. Very good. And going in the wrong direction is going to set me back, right? Going to put me in the hands of the evil inclination, right? Problem. Constant battle. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen is, in general, people are going to lose friends and family over this. Just going to happen. It's a natural thing. Now, if the Bible thumpers, it'll be quicker, because then they're going to keep pestering you about why you don't believe in JC, and all that. So to realize, as Kaufman would say, family can be an albatross. Friends could be an albatross, but they're going to fall by the wayside. And you meet other people that think like you. They want to go in the same direction. But you're absolutely 100% right. Can it be a lonely process? Yes. Very well can be a lonely process. But again, we are going to hang out and live, hopefully, among people that think the way we do. And we're not claiming to be open-minded. No one's claiming to be open-minded. We're doing our best on a daily basis, even if it's very hard. We're doing our best to be the best Jews, JITs, Jews in training, or no-ites we can be. So I would tell you, anything that's going to try and stop that, or put wedges in between you and your relationship to God, they have to go by the wayside. Because that is going to interfere. Now again, some family members you have to have contact with, okay. But you'll see, as time goes on, what's going to happen? It'll be less. It can be painful for a person in a close relationship. Okay. But even if that would be the case, yeah, it's very good for the month of Elul, right? Being introspective. I have to look at everything in front of me. Is this going to help me in my service to God or not? Is it going to have negative repercussions or not? Now, sometimes we may not know, or we may think this is going to happen or not. But there are things that can take us away where we have setbacks. And the setbacks, as we would say, we're not talking about things that aren't fun. There be things that are fun, things that are enjoyable, but it's not good for your soul. Person can watch a movie, not even a tearjerker, a fun movie. Action-packed, this, that, whatever it is. Hour and a half, 2 hours. Oh, what a great thing. They saw this and that. It's wasted 2 hours. Yeah, it was enjoyable though. But they wasted it. You get it back, right? And now you just open yourself up to do more things that are wrong. It's harder. But you don't say, come on, I just chilled, it was good, got back on track. This is exactly what the evil inclination wants. You got to stand up to the evil inclination like fire. If a fire, God forbid, broke out, what would you do? You run away from it like the plague. If anything's going to cause the person to go in the wrong direction, same thing. But what happens? The evil inclination comes along, convinces us, that's not so bad. You're not even Jewish yet. Or you're not going to be Jewish. It doesn't really affect me that much. And this, What does it do? It makes you take 2 steps backwards. Right? Makes you take 2 steps backwards. Or more. Right? Right? Could be more. Right? Well, what does the person do? Right? What does the person do? They get caught up. Right? They get caught up in that. When you get caught up in it, it's hard to fight. You're going to say you do it once, I feel bad, this and that. Do it a second time, still feel bad. Third, fourth, fifth time, becomes part of your nature already. Harder to fight against. And, if it's something where you wouldn't allow a fire to start, you wouldn't allow this to start either, but you got to be vigilant, very vigilant. Almost fanatical, I would say. Why? Because at any time and place, you do not want these things to start. Once they start, it's harder to fight against. But I would agree. People say, come on, you study too much, you don't get out enough, this and that. Tell them to go eat kugel. You go eat kugel. Because that's the life you're going to lead. That's what God wants. He wants you to draw close as much as possible. Could it be a lonely process? Yes. Could a person lose family and friends along the way? Yes. Is it worth it? Well, I can't answer that, but you want to have this close connection to God. These other things are distractions. All right? It says in Derech Hashem, we live in a world of distractions. That's what it is. It's distracting. You're going to say, come on, when a person studies all day, you'll be boring, you'll be this. But what does studying do? It draws you closer to God. What it does. And you always have to ask yourself the question. If I'm doing this or I'm doing that, is it helping me draw close to God or not? That is the question. Is it helping me or it's not helping me? If you have a doubt, then you don't do it. If you know it's not going to help you, but it's still fun, you still don't do it. And that'd be my short, long answer. Someone asked, do we pray the same Pirke Shachar on Shabbos as we do during the week? Yes. Right? Do we say the same lessons in the morning on Shabbos as we would during the week, or vice versa? Yes. Answer is yes. Somebody asks, there is a debate. There is a debate whether or not the Ark of the Covenant is found in Ethiopia or not. Ark of the Covenant, isn't that in a box somewhere in some warehouse at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? Isn't that where it is? Right? Is it there, the Ark of the Covenant? The Ark of the Covenant seems to be in the Holy of Holies. That's where it should be. I don't think it's in Ethiopia, but that's where it should be. Right? Should be. It should, certainly the tablets are there. Certainly the tablets are supposed to be there. Right? At the, in the Holy of Holies. Broken tablets should be there. The Ark of the Covenant, I don't think it's in Ethiopia. Right? I definitely don't think it's there. Someone asked, the only place in the world where the presence of God maybe only manifests is on the Ark of the Covenant. What do you do if you don't have the Ark of the Covenant? What if you don't have the Ark of the Covenant? There's no holiness? Go to Jerusalem and tell me that. Because what do we have? We only have the outer wall. Right? We only have the outer wall. We don't have the Ark of the Covenant. We don't see it. We don't have the temple rebuilt. But everyone will tell you, anyone who's visited Israel, you go to Tel Aviv, you go to Tiberias, you go other places, you come to Jerusalem, Jerusalem's different. Walking in the street is different. What's the difference? What's the difference? It's God's presence you feel. You don't see it, but you feel something else. Now, even if that's true, we don't have an Ark in the Covenant here. Or the last time I checked. Nowhere in the old city do we have an Ark of the Covenant. Right? Doesn't mean you can't feel God's presence here. Now, someone's going to say, but you don't feel like the same it was in the first temple. Right. And even the second temple. Right. Even though there's certain things in the second temple missing from the first temple. Good. It's not the same. right? Make no mistake, it's not the same. Yeah, doesn't mean we don't feel something strong here. Is it the same? No, that I agree. Right? That I agree. 100%. Right? That's, once you have the temple rebuilt, you have the Ark of the Covenant and all that, a totally different level of holiness. I agree. That is true. But even if you don't have it, you still feel something in Jerusalem more than anywhere else in the world. Because that's where God's presence is. We don't see it. We don't, it's not the same, certainly, not even question the first temple or the second temple. True. You feel it's different. The air is different. It's totally different. Right? But you need other factors bring God's presence to the world. We don't have it. For sure, we don't have it. Not the same. Right? It's not the same. But again, seeing God's presence in this world, yeah, you need the temple rebuilt. You need other things to happen. You need the Messiah to come. We don't have that. Close, but we don't have that yet. But I would say, even without the Ark of the Covenant, person comes to Jerusalem, you feel things he didn't feel anywhere else. Is it the same as the first, second temple? No. Right? We're not going to go that far. No. It's not. Not even close. Not even close. But, you can also say, if I walk downtown Jerusalem, see how people dress in different things, yeah, you can understand why the Messiah is still not here. But it doesn't matter, because you're still right down the block from where the temple used to be. It's a whole different thing. You feel something different. Okay, is it the same exact thing as first temple? No. Definitely not. Definitely not. Someone asks, is it permissible to put tzitzis as woolen linen? No. Right? Can't have mixture of wool and linen, anything. The only time you had a mixture of wool and linen by one of the clothing by the high priest, right? By the Kohanim in the temple. But anything else, right? If you have, right? You have wool tzitzis. Yeah, a wool garment. Can't wear linen with them. 100%. Right? So therefore you can't. The only time that was allowed was during what the Kohanim wore. That was different. There's no question how that was allowed in the temple. Good. That was the only thing. Everything, any other time wearing wool and linen together be forbidden even by tzitzis. And by any mitzvah would be forbidden. Would certainly be forbidden. Someone asked, what's it only 2 kosher stores? Why is people lunatics on the West Coast? Shouldn't laugh. It depends where you are. Right? It depends where you are. The smaller the community, the less amenities you're going to have. Yeah. So what are you supposed to do? Just go to a bigger community. They're not going to have as many amenities, not as many kosher stores. Okay. Right? So, if a person wants to go, into a community, it should be big enough. Not everyone get to a bigger community. Okay. So a small community will have less amenities. That's the reality. Now, bigger communities may cost more money, different things. Okay. Right? So if you're living in a small community, they can't afford more than a certain amount of kosher stores. They're just not going to go. They don't have enough people to support it. Right? Even if there are a lot of secular Jews there. Let's say it's a community, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 Jews. And you have 50 Orthodox Jews. How many stores are you going to be able to support? Right? What are you supposed to do? Yeah. So the smaller community, the less kosher stores will have, the less amenities. There'll be less amenities. You go to LA, plenty of places. Go to Chicago, plenty of places. You go to Miami, plenty of places. Atlanta, many places. You go to the middle of nowhere, this is what happens. They don't have so many amenities. That's the reality. Now, you tell me other places are not as safe, and this, and that, okay. Right? But you have to realize, you go to a small place, they're not going to have the amenities you want, that you want. Somebody asks, seems like everyone would want to eat kosher. So even if you have, again, you could have 5,000 Jews, 10,000 Jews, very good. If they're Orthodox Jews, okay, so then you have a lot more places. If they're not Orthodox Jews, why would they support it? Right? In other words, the more you have, more Jews that are interested in Judaism. So yeah, they'll be able to support more places. But if the secular Jews, what are you supposed to do? You're not going to support it. I'll give you an example. Philadelphia. Yeah. Philadelphia back in the day, still today. They don't have too many kosher restaurants. The third or fourth biggest Jewish community in America. Next to, it's either Boston or Philadelphia. I think they're in the top four. Right? They're 3 or 4. I remember Philadelphia has more. Boston has more. Right? The first two, I think, are you got New York, LA. And I think Chicago's after that. So we're 4 or 5, 3 and 4, whatever it is. From Philadelphia is where my wife's from originally. So they only have a handful of kosher restaurants. Handful. Well, they're like the 4th or 5th highest Jewish population in America. Right? 4th or 5th highest Jewish population. So why don't they have many more kosher stores and this and that? What's the reason? Because who are the most of the Jews there? Reform and conservative Jews. Reconstructionist Jews, Reform, whatever. That's who they are. So they can't afford. Are they interested in having kosher restaurants? They're not interested. Right? So you can have a huge Jewish population. Right? Thousands of Jews. You only have 2 kosher restaurants. So you say that's insane. Okay. But who are those thousands of Jews? They're secular Jews. They're not going to patronize the place. They're not interested in keeping kosher. Yeah, so it makes sense. I'm talking about thousands, not hundreds. Yeah. Somebody asks if a Kohanim or a Levite separated at birth. Yeah. Are they more inclined to the laws of Torah in their genetics? Will these laws be whispering to them? I don't know. I don't know about that. If they're so far gone, they're separated, they have nothing connecting them to Torah mitzvahs, or they don't even know they're Jewish. Sometimes they find out they're Jewish later. Okay. Everyone has that spark. Every Jew has that spark. Very good. Yeah. Every Jew can have that spark. Is it eventually going to lead them back? I can't answer. I don't know. But are they more inclined? I don't know. If you feed them and their soul with garbage, it gets totally buried. Could it ever come back? It could. It could, but just because they come from that line does not necessarily mean everything else that they did or have done to them or whatever is going to lead them back. Right? That's what I would say. Somebody asks, commentary by Rashi in Deuteronomy says, twisted threads you shall make for yourselves. Okay. Even from otherwise forbidden mixture of wool and linen. It depends what it's for. If it's for the sake of a Kohen, it's a different issue, right? But I have to look at Rashi over there. But in general, it would be forbidden. Wool and linen together on tzitzis should be forbidden. 100% should be forbidden, right? So I'll have to look there and see why, right? And see why, right? And see exactly what that is speaking about. But if it's talking about tzitzis, then yeah, it has to be understood why. Because tzitzis cannot become from wool and linen. That'd be forbidden. That would be forbidden. So it has to be a specific case. Why it would be permissible. Right? Otherwise, yeah, it's a good question. But whatever, I'll have to look it up. Someone asks, all right, I answered that. Someone there says, yeah, some of these Jews have a lot of money, but they don't care, right? So what are you supposed to do? They don't care. Okay. Come on, you can have 150,000 Jews. Some have more money, less money. They don't care to have kosher restaurants. Not a question of money. Money is irrelevant over here, right? The question is, either they didn't have a lot of money, would they patronize the store? Would they help the store? And for a lot of people, they wouldn't do it. Why wouldn't they do it? Because they eat trash. They eat non-kosher. So it's not a question of money here. It's totally not a question of money, right? They don't care. You're right. They don't care. I'm saying even in big Jewish communities, right? They're not going to care. A lot of them won't care. Yeah. Not a question of money. They don't care. Right? It's a big problem. It's a big problem. Going to a place, yeah, there may not be so many amenities. Doesn't matter. So the point is, it doesn't matter how many Jews are there. Just keep in mind. Philadelphia is a very good example. Hundreds of thousands of Jews there. Very few kosher restaurants. Very few. Because nobody cares. Right? And obviously, as we always say, the more non-kosher they eat, the worse it is. The much worse it is. They fill their body with garbage. What happens? They don't want Torah mitzvahs. Right? They become very cynical, very apathetic. Right? So yeah, it can, it can definitely be, it can definitely be frustrating. Right? But I'm talking about on a much bigger scale. Right? That'd be a much stronger question. You gotta say, come on, 300,000 Jews live in the city, and you can't keep 3-4 kosher restaurants going because you don't have enough patrons to go there. That's sad. That's extremely sad. But you have that. And then Boston also. I was growing up. How many kosher restaurants were there? One. Right? right? Well, now they're a handful, but still, not a huge number. You don't have a lot of Orthodox Jews there. So, communities, if they want to attract people, they need to have amenities. And they have schools, right? If you have kids to educate, they should have kosher establishments. They should. But it's going to be practical also. You're not going to have kosher establishments, no one's going to go. Right? If no one's going to go, it makes sense. But you can have that much higher numbers. Much, much higher numbers. That's even more pathetic. If you tell me there are 200 Jews there, 500 Jews there, whatever, you don't have any kosher restaurants, I can understand. You tell me there are 350,000 Jews there, you only have a handful. You can say, come on. I'm not talking about poor people here. Not to be mega rich either. Right? But why wouldn't they have them? Because people won't go there. It won't be worthwhile for someone to do it. Well, people won't do it. Why would they open up something they know it's going to fail? Right? These are the things to keep going. A food, a place that sells food. Right? The food industry is very hard business to make it. Very, very hard business to make it. Right? So kosher food is going to be more. You need people to watch it. Other things, it's going to cost more money. Very good, but you have to do the market research. You got to see it's going to be worthwhile to do or not. That can draw people to come to a community also. Yeah, there are benefits. I know, certain communities looking for people to come. Let's say in the Midwest, but they have a lot of amenities there. Housing not so expensive, at least they claim. They have, kosher places to eat. They have schools, different things. That's what attracts people. Trying to get people to go out there. Okay. But in a lot of places, even if there's they're within striking distance of a bigger Jewish community, where they live might not be worthwhile to do. Yeah. But again, it's got to be practical also. It has to be practical. Like anything else. If anyone's going to put money in and make a business venture, what do you have to do? You have to check into the marketing, see, is it going to be worthwhile or not? Are they going to be able to make money there? That's going to be a question. And again, it doesn't matter how many people you have there. You have to have the right number of people that are going to be interested in doing it. Right? That is the most important. That's the most important thing. When I was growing up, which wasn't really so interested at that point anyway, but growing up in Boston was nothing. There's so many kosher places there. Even now there aren't so many. But it's mind-boggling. Right? Let me just see here for a second. Let's see. 248,000 Jews, right? Live in Boston, right? Let's say that's the latest. Let's say that's the latest stat. I'll just bring up the stats here. Let's see. Let's see. One second. Wow. Say in Colorado. No, California, okay, has more than 1 million Jews. Okay. Florida has 672,000. Illinois has 325,000. Massachusetts has 301,000. 880, according to 2023. So forget, let's just say. So you got, let's say Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is 433. So Pennsylvania is bigger. It's even worse. Yeah. So by Pennsylvania, you have 433,000 Jews. Boston's, let's say, okay, right behind it, 388,000. Okay, let's say. Both of those places don't have a lot of kosher food places there. It's mind-boggling. So what's the answer? Because they don't want it. You don't have enough people that want it. They'll support it. That's a huge problem. Again, if you're telling me it's a much smaller amount, makes more sense. Don't tell me it's that big of an amount and that's the case, that's that. But again, who's going to support it? Who in the world is going to support it? Right? But again, someone who's going to do it has to do the marketing research, has to see it's going to be worthwhile or not. No matter whether people have money, are people going to come? People are going to come to a kosher restaurant. They're going to support it. There's probably a reason why no one's ever built anything out there, because they want to support it. Right? There are places for years that don't have anything. Don't have anything. I know someone who lives on, in Cape Cod, and outside of Boston, about a couple hours, hour and a half, probably, from Boston. Where they live, there's nothing there. No kosher restaurants, nothing. You're going to go to a kosher restaurant, take 2 hours to get there. Hour and a half, 2 hours to get there. That's what it is. These people aren't Orthodox Jews either, but whatever. They do keep kosher to a point. But that's what it is. Someone asks, person had kosher money, $1,000 in the bank. If someone sends $1 not kosher money in the bank, that all the money is not kosher. No. Let's say person had $1,000 in the bank and they got money. They got $1 that was used for drug money. Let's say gambling. I don't know. Other money, money they got desecrating Shabbos. Now, you could pull that money out. The other money's kosher. Doesn't just because it gets mixed in, it doesn't make it non-kosher. But a person would have to know how much, right? So a person knew, let's say a person wanted to repent. They made all kinds of money on Shabbos. They can't get benefit from. Yeah. So they have to make a calculation how much they made and then take that out and whatever. They can't get benefit from it, right? They have to give it away. Right? You have to give that money away. But it's just because the person had $1, let's say, out of 1,000, doesn't mean it's trade. Doesn't mean that the money is not kosher. 999 is kosher. The one that's not isn't. Right? So that's a different issue. Austin is a kosher store. Okay. Austin's also a tiny population. Right? It's also a very small Jewish population. I had somebody once. Eventually they moved to Houston, I think. They moved to Houston and converted, but they were in Austin. I think when they were in Austin, there was nothing there. There was nothing there. Okay, so they're one place, but Austin's a tiny place. It's a tiny community. Yeah. I don't know, in comparison to, say Lake Tahoe, but whatever. It's a small Jewish population. But again, what's the bottom line? The bottom line is big population, small population, who in the world is going to pay for it? Right? Who's going to patronize it? Who's going to go there? Who's going to pay for it? And therefore, marketing research will tell you it's not worth it because no one's going to support it. Right? No one's going to support it. Yeah. Any other questions? Someone asks, story in Ethiopia about King Solomon having a son from an Ethiopian queen. Okay. Yeah, he married a lot of people. Right? That's for sure, for a lot of it for political reasons. Right? Other reasons. But could he have had a child from somebody like that? Sure. Could have. Right? But they were, they were converts. So, he converted them. So kids were Jewish. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm gonna stop here. I do this every Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern time. Now we're getting earlier. Shabbos going on earlier, 9 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions? Find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, OrthodoxConversion.com. Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on the Torah portion of the week, even though I'm very behind. Q&As, ethics for our fathers, book of Leviticus. Anyone has any questions, want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com.